Yes, yes.
super degenerate, just contradiction. Yo, what's up, CJ? But yeah, like things like that. Those are all just not good.
No, they're not.
Yo, what is up, question? It's
What's up,
going on.
CJ?
Um, hey, I'd like to run you by one of my arguments, but as long
Okay.
as you grant metaphysical realism, then
Metaphysical realism. Yeah, sure. Well, like, what are your metaphysics?
I guess we could take the observables. Yeah, or not. Wait, also like gravity, like some constants. Like, do you grant that we have like, let's say gravity and semantic scientific realism kind of sense, like not like an instrumentalist sense, but like that we
Yes,
actually have gravity.
yes. I think gravity exists. Yeah.
And like, let's say these other constants, like let's say, hold up, actually, I gotta go look, but it's like something that you do with like protons. Hold on.
Okay.
Also, in your comments, it looks like you have a Megan Ruth. Looks like a nice Christian.
But play like what do you call it? It's the
Fine
Planck
tuning
concept.
argument.
Planck constant basically determines the charge that these type of atoms and such have, and if we didn't have this sort of Planck concept, then it would allow for informities and complexions within atoms, which then would then break down the structure. And that's another necessary one. And it's basically kind of like a fine-tuning argument, but a justification for it's a little different. But basically we observe these numerological constants, and I mean I don't really have an argument for metaphysical realism, like that's going to be an axiom, I guess. But like granted that we have these under theism would predict it more than obviously the naturalism it would. And then my justification for that would be that given these sorts of constants, we can construct a world. Well, one, let me introduce this term, like the Goldilocks zone for these constants, and that's just by which is a zone of the manipulation. Like let's say like we can map, let's say gravity strengths, right? We can say that like it has to be within a certain, I guess, range for our life to be permitting. Like if it's just completely very very weak, then
When you
within
say
such
life, are you stipulating life simpliciter or Earth-like life?
life as we have it, as we
Okay,
have
so
it.
Earth-like life. Okay. I mean,
Yeah, or yeah, something like that. But then, what was I about to say? Oh yeah, we have this sort of Goldilocks zone. Like, let's say the best example I could probably give is for gravity. Like, let's say gravity was too weak, like our Earth wouldn't be able to stay together, and if it's too strong, it could be crushed, or we could be crushed or something like that. And then you could also observe that with the Planck what do you call that? Constant, yeah. Whereas if it would allow for I guess they have having even slightly more charge, then it would disrupt and push and pull other atoms in a way that these constructs would simply not be able to be formulated in that sense. And in the same way, this Goldilocks zone, each single numerical possible, oh wait, each numerical value that could be possible that would have life would be infinite. As even if we have this Goldilocks zone, like let's say, just for example, like let's say 1 2 5, that we could map 1 2 5 of these type of numbers, or like the values, like let's say strengths 1 for gravity, strengths 2 for gravity, yada yada up to 5. There's an infinite amount of possible combinations of numbers there, but which would still be life permitting, as obviously between two numbers it can reduce infinitely. So we can
they're
construct
real
an infinite.
numbers. Yep.
Yeah, so we can construct an infinite amount of possible worlds by which they could change a little bit, yet still be life permitting. But the asymmetry comes in that we can construct a negative Goldilocks zone by which these constants, we still have them, but yet they differ. Well, like let's say the best way to put it is a negative Goldilocks zone has the same continuity of numbers as a Goldilocks zone would. Like let's say we have gravity, and let's say it's 1 2 5. We can map 1 2 5 for the strengths that it's required for life to be permitting. We could take 5, and we could say, like let's say 5 over or 5 under. And that would be the negative Goldilocks zone as it shares the same continuity there. And in that sense, we still also have the same amount of infinite amount of possible worlds by which it could be within that negative Goldilocks zone, and life wouldn't be permitting that. But then the asymmetry comes in that we could have, we still have that infinite amount of possible worlds by which we still have the constant, but yet it's outside of the negative Goldilocks zone, in which that it would still fail because it's not within the Goldilocks zone. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say 1 through 5, and we can construct a possible negative Goldilocks zone, like, let's say 5 through 10 or whatever. And let's say we have 11, 12, 13, 14 at an infinitum by which life still wouldn't be permitting. So when we evaluate the size of these sorts of sets, we have one, the Goldilocks zone, which can be expressed infinitely, and one, the negative Goldilocks zone, which can be expressed infinitely. But then when we subtract those, we're still left with an infinite amount of possible worlds by which life wouldn't be permitting. And if that's going to be the case, then we also still have the case that we don't have any constants at all, which also wouldn't be life permitting, at least the life that we know. So seemingly then, our world becomes infinitely less, like us having these constants, through naturalism and not through some sort of assignment there. Seemingly, we're left with it being infinitely less probable than us not having life. When we compare the probability spaces there, one is infinitely greater than the other. And if that's going to be the case, then even if we have these extra assumptions, like let's say upon the antecedent probabilities through parsimony, let's say what do you call it, like a mind, and let's say whatever finite amount of commitments there that God might carry, it's going to be necessarily less than the infinite amount of commitments that it would have under naturalism. And then that's why theism, and then obviously theism here, God's just the assignment of properties to these objects within, I guess, our universe, you could say. So then seemingly, if it's natural, and it just isn't, I guess, determined in that sense, then we'd be appealing to that sort of probability there by which would be infinitely less than if it was assigned. And then that's basically the argument.
I mean, first of all, I want to know, suppose we have some naturalistic explanation. Do you know what, I'm not talking about the possibility space, because I can grant that's infinite. That seems trivially true. You have some infinite amount of nomological possibilities the universe could be. How are you calculating the probability distribution? Like, for example, why would we not expect that some naturalistic hypothesis would expect complex structures to form, and then that in the end, would allow for Earth-like life? And I guess I'll just grant for some reason that's going to be expected, or like expected in theism, even though I don't see why that is. But then another thing I'm gonna
Wait, my bad. I'm sorry.
Another thing I'm going to ask is, do you think we have sufficient, evidence in the observable universe, like the real world, to do some inductive inference and generalize across the entire universe to say that there isn't more universe out there with different constants, to the point we could actually have an infinite universe with every single possible configuration of the constants, meaning that it's not even surprising under naturalism that one part of this infinite universe has these types of constants? Because I don't see why we have reason to believe they're invariant, since we don't have, in my opinion,
Yeah,
at all reason to believe
I
that.
usually, if you grant that us as humans have access to these unobservables, then I'm a relativist on that, so it might not be convincing, I guess. But let's say this universe was infinite. I usually hold that induction is justified, but again, I'm a relativist on that. It's a natural humanistic reasoning pattern, and that's why I kind of hold to it. But if you were to say that you don't hold to it, then I guess, to hold this sort of inductive reasoning for the constants, then I guess it kind of falls on why I take these type of constants to be that, at least in the argument, to be that, which is an axiomatic. But even so, like that as a reasoning pattern, I am an epistemic relativist. Like, I don't think that you can say that induction can be justified in any sense that's not relativist. And I am a relativist on it. So if you try to ask me okay, why is this justification for induction, I guess virtuous here, then I guess I wouldn't be able to give you an answer for that. But that's why I said if you take these constants to be that, these universal constants to be that which is axiomatic, we can derive that inference.
Well, maybe I misunderstood what the original axioms are, because I thought it was just that there is some scientific realism and that there's metaphysical realism. But if one of your commitments is saying we have good reason to believe we can use some inductive generalization from our part of the universe that we can observe to the entirety of the universe, I think that is with all due respect, an insane take, and I would never agree to that if I had maybe I was a jester and didn't understand that, because the observable universe, based on like some possible calculations physicists have done,
Yeah.
the universe at large might be 200 sextillion times bigger than the universe right now, or maybe it's 200 sextillion light years, which is still
Yeah.
massive compared to the 93
Okay.
billion light years.
All right. Even then, I can still reason with you on it, but I kind of did take that to be axiomatic. I don't usually do theism, but I thought that inference could maybe be convincing. But so you're trying to say that the universe could maybe have like sectioned off in a way that one has what do you call it? Wait. Yeah. Could be sectioned off that one could have these constants and one part couldn't, and it could be an infinite amount of constants within this universe, right? Well, isn't our universe not even at least shown to be? No, that's just the observable universe. Never mind. So wait, what do you take the universe to be then?
The universe is just everything that exists in space-time, but then if it's the case that space-time isn't even structurally invariant across like what exists, it's like this reality bubble. It's kind of nebulous at that point. Suppose that constants are actually variant in different
Wait, what did constants? Wait, okay, I do see what you're saying. My bad for cutting you off though. If you
Yeah,
need
like,
to add something.
suppose we have point A and point B in the universe, and point A is one light year across, and point B is another light year across, and they're actually super far away from each other. The constants could like they're constants in their areas. We can just grant that, but they can still be different. Like we can say gravity is 1 strength in point A and 2 strength in point B.
Okay. Wait, so you would and under this hypothetical counter model, you would say that these are the type of things by which aren't contingent, but like is a part of the universe, like
Yeah, they
simply
might be part of
yeah,
the universe, and they might be genuinely contingent. Like
Okay.
they're not necessary across simplicator.
Yeah, okay. So I'd say that simply positing more constants would be added structural commitments.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
Positing more, like let's say positing more, what do you call it, constants would be added structural commitments then.
They
Because
would,
when,
yeah, obviously they would, but that's like I'm not committing myself to the hypothesis. I'm just saying in this counter model, since we don't have sufficient inductive reason, like because as some physicists have said, we might have 0.0 with 9.016% of the actual
yeah,
universe in our induction. We won't have reason to induce the constants are just completely invariant.
yeah.
And I believe I've heard this from Quantonaut on like Ian's live and other lives that there
Mhm.
actually is like pretty good reason, I think, even in some experiments to show that the constants might be variant, even if it's slightly at the smallest level. So if we can see some variance, then
Yeah.
I'm not even sure at all how we're getting to they're going to be similar
Okay,
across the universe.
I could say something like that if we have, or when we evaluate the evidence, given that we do have these constants, let's say even if you were to say that there is no other constant, wait, just to be clear, would you sign off that your counter model, like, 'cause I know how you presented it. You presented it with an infinite amount of constants. Would you say that it would only work with an infinite amount of constants, and then my inference would go through, or do you think that would work without?
Well, I mean, if we have a sufficiently large finite amount of like varying constants, it will work. But that's just like how arbitrarily large and like estimates work.
Actually, I think that it would have to be infinite now. Like, if
You have some if you have like a parameter and like there's a probability distribution. Suppose you have a sufficiently large n amount of like entities in the population, or just like you generate an infinite or an arbitrarily large amount. Eventually you're going to generate every single type of thing from the probability distribution, or almost everything, and it will get closer and closer to everything if the probability distribution is continuous. So it's just to be arbitrarily large.
I think that it would have to be committed to infinite because yes, even if you try to say that each universe can universe could possibly contain an infinite amount of constants. Yeah, I guess here, let me just tell you how I'd probably respond. I would say that an infinite amount of constants within the universe, because of its structural implications, would be still follow under less likely as a possible world that commits itself to these structural commitments, again, isn't that what's going to be necessary? And because not what's going to be yet necessary, under the principle of indifference, it would still follow that it's going to be less probable there. But and then the second point, if it wasn't infinite and it was less than infinite, like let's say there was, I don't know, 20 million constants, right? And then you would say that, okay, if there's 20 million constants, then us existing or us having one that would be in the Goldilocks zone would be higher. Would fail then because even if like when reasoning was infinite sample spaces there, let's say there was 20 million arrangement of constants, because the Goldilocks zone is still finite and because there's an infinite amount of other possibilities there, just because that there's a arbitrarily large, like 20 million, 20 billion, 20 trillion, it's still not even any sort of like, I guess, decimal percentage of infinity. So because it's not
That's
even,
not.
that's
Do you know what arbitrarily large means?
maybe not. I'm sorry. What do you mean by that? Then I sorry, just meant
Arbitrarily
like
large is just a way you can do something in math. Like you take a limiting process, and that as x or whatever variable you're changing tends towards infinity, but it not actually going to infinity because you don't have to commit yourself to some infinite set. As something goes towards infinity, it's going to approach something. And I can just actually, I was talking about this on a live yesterday with someone, so I'm just going to put up a little asymptote graph really
okay.
quickly. See, okay. So
Yeah.
so there's there's actually four asymptotes here. There's
Yeah.
another one along the horizontal, and we're going to talk about that one because that's where x is tending towards infinity. As
Okay.
x tends towards positive infinity, like notice the right of the graph, you'll notice the
Okay.
graph is like as it gets arbitrarily large, it's getting closer and closer to y equals 0. And when we're saying it's arbitrarily large, we can just get as close to 0 as we
No,
can possibly
I
want.
know what you're
That's
talking about then. Okay, yeah. I know.
now
I
you
understand what you're talking about. Okay. But then what? And then what were you trying to say about this then?
And I'm saying since it's going to tend closer and closer to fully generating what the probability distribution is under, like the law of large numbers, you know what that is,
Like, are you
right?
talking about like 0.9, like basically 0.9 repeating in that sense? How it's arbitrarily
0.9,
close.
0.9 repeating equals 1. It's not
Wait,
close.
wait, no, that's not even my bad. That's not even what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say like, as close, like
As
indefinitely.
it tends towards infinity, it's
Yeah.
going to almost,
Anyways,
it's not, eventually it will just start approximating the actual probability distribution the more times we like generate something from that, because that's just how it
Yeah,
works.
okay. I see. I understand the concept you're trying to use. I do, but then, I guess I just forgot. Then, how did you use this in the argument? Or what were you trying to say?
The universe doesn't have to literally be infinite. It just needs to be arbitrarily large. And if we can have some arbitrarily large amount of the universe, but it can still be a finite number. And as it keeps tending towards infinity, it's going to be approximating the probability distribution. And if in part of this probability distribution, there exists the Goldilocks zone such that complex structures can form, then it's going to be that these complex or like the Goldilocks zone will arise and also an infinite amount of times if it's arbitrarily large.
Wait. So you say that if it does have this arbitrarily large, or if it is that arbitrarily large, then how are you saying that it would then not be like wait? And just to be clear, wait. So is arbitrarily large not a finite then?
Arbitrarily large is finite, but like you know how there's an infinite amount of natural numbers?
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm confused.
He's giving a fine-tuning argument, and I'm asking him about the probability distribution. I'm saying under a naturalistic hypothesis, given I don't think we have sufficient inductive evidence to guarantee the constants are invariant, suppose there's some probability distribution of the constants. As the amount of these generations from the probability distribution are getting generated, or however it's generated, whatever mechanism is behind it, as it tends towards infinity, but doesn't have to actually be an infinite set or an infinite amount of things, it's going to then converge upon the probability distribution and then generate the Goldilocks zone where complex
No,
structures.
all right. I guess I
Here's my
don't
problem
see.
with
I don't
these
see the mapping
conversations.
right.
Right. Here's my problem with these conversations when they get to this point, right? So, this conversation is interesting for mere God, but I doubt CJ is claiming mere God, correct?
No, wait. What exactly do you mean by mirror God there?
Just the thing that actualizes potentiality. right? But you're not saying that God is just merely the actualization of potentiality. You're saying that God is probably
He's not running out of potency distinction.
yeah. So
No.
well, what I'm saying is that you're probably saying that God is all these properties,
No, the only
found in the
properties
Bible. Hold on, let me finish.
the
Found in
only
the
properties that I was
Bible, Jesus is the
don't
Son, the
no,
Holy Spirit,
I
correct?
wasn't
You have a
committing
cross by
myself.
your name, right? So
No,
you're a
yeah,
Christian,
but I
right?
wasn't. That's not the argument I was trying to give though.
But
Please,
wait, you're a
I promise.
Christian, correct?
I am a Christian, but that's a different
Okay.
argument I was trying to
So
give. That's a different argument I was trying to give.
the reason that I'm jumping in here is as follows, right?
Dude, the
Because
real.
you are not claiming just an argument for mere God.
I am, dude. Hey.
Hey, I'm gonna join back real
Respectfully,
quick.
that's exactly what I was doing, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah,
the argument I was giving
you
was simply
don't
for the
believe
arbiter of
in mere
properties.
God. You don't believe in mere God. You believe in a God
Okay.
with properties. You believe in a God that
Yes.
birthed a son.
Okay.
You believe in a
Yeah.
God that
Yeah.
impregnated a virgin. You believe in a
Yeah.
God that spoke through a burning bush. You believe in a God
Yeah.
that parted an ocean. You believe in a
Yeah.
God that caused a flood, right?
Yeah.
So all of these arguments about like crunching numbers and all of these things have absolutely nothing to do with the God that you believe in.
Dude, I don't like how you're saying that one that feels a little disrespectful because one
It's not
you didn't even hear
disrespectful. It's not a
no
God that you believe
you didn't
in.
hear my argument at all. My
I
argument
don't need to hear your
I do have
argument.
arguments for that. I do have arguments for that
Right, so
exactly.
then make
But it
those,
comes off
not
of
a
the mere
mere
God.
God.
It comes off of the mere God. Like what? Like
Right, so we
my
don't need to
argument for
concern ourselves
my
with an
argument
argument for
my
mere God
argument
until we have an
yeah.
argument that says that
Yeah,
those
my
things are
argument goes from
things that can
dude,
occur.
the real like, my argument goes from us having credence towards a mere God to
Yeah,
then
your argument needs to
selecting the
work
one most
backwards.
probable. To then
Right,
selecting the
it's
one most
not
probable.
plausible that a
I
man
don't.
walked on water,
Like
right? It's
what are you
not
doing? I wasn't
plausible
even
that a
debating you.
man resurrected.
You're
It's
dead
not
ass being
plausible
annoying.
that a
Shush.
man parted the Red
Oh, you can think
Seas.
that. I will slam you. I will slam you right out. I will slam you right after we're done having an actual respectful conversation with this question after you
No, I'm
interrupted
not
to say that
having a
BS.
disrespectful
Go on mute. Go on
conversation.
mute. Go on
I'm
mute.
just
Go on
short
mute.
circuiting your conversation
I'm not trying to
that
talk to
isn't
you.
an argument
You
for
got
your
it off
God, right?
topic just to say that. I'm not trying
Yeah,
to
why
talk to you.
don't
Go
you
on
just
mute.
give an argument for your God?
It's a question. Can you put him on mute so we can finish? Like, what is this? Can you please like shush him up?
Do you not have the ability to defend your God?
I do. I said I would after. Can you
Oh,
not listen?
oh,
I'm in the
well,
middle of a conversation.
right, but you're not arguing for your God. You're arguing for mere God.
Okay, that's a different that's a different thing than what the prompt said. It
We don't
doesn't
get
say,
your
does your
God from mere
religion
God.
exist? It says, does God exist? Please,
Yeah,
just
but
shut
the God
up.
that you believe in is not the God
Wait,
you're arguing for.
Can you please just put him on mute, bro? Can we please finish
Ainsley,
question?
I'm just gonna finish the conversation and
Okay.
Thank you, bro. Like, what the hell? Like, anyways. Okay, so you said that if we have this sort of arbitrarily large number, I'm confused. Wait, I want to ask a couple of properties of what you think an arbitrary large number is first. Do you think that an arbitrary large number has a set value?
no, it's a limiting process.
So it's a limiting. So like it's approaching then, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then I guess this might be confused. Maybe like what speed do you think it's like approaching?
Oh,
Like,
there
are you trying to-
that is like since you're being nice about it, that I'll just be nice too. That is confused. Like there's no such thing
Alright.
as a speed something approaches at. Like in
Like,
thing, if you might be talking about like slope, but it really doesn't
Yeah.
matter. For example, take how y equals x, just like the most basic
Yeah.
function. It's just like whatever you input it outputs that.
Yeah.
Also tends towards infinity, right? But you can actually do y is equal to x times point zero
Wait.
zero zero zero
All
zero
right, wait.
one.
Actually, yeah, I can see how that's confused. I was kind of thinking of slope, but here I can ask a better question. Do you think that that an arbitrarily large number at any point within the graph ever takes up a percentage of infinity?
Yes, since it's tending towards infinity, you're saying that as it's just going to keep approximating the probability distribution, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. Why?
But it's not
wait.
generating the probability distribution because that's continuous, and then you'd have to commit yourself to saying it's infinite.
Sorry,
But
can I ask you some reducing questions on terms? I'm a little confused. When you say approximating the probability,
okay,
what do you mean by that?
I'll put up a probability distribution to clarify.
Okay.
Just gonna pull it up. Wait, did it not load? Okay, hold on. Okay, it's a little cut off because, but basically, I think you know what I'm talking about. You can just look up normal distribution if you need more clarification. But basically, it's saying that as whatever like this is the normal distribution. It's saying this is the probability of every given value or something. It can be a box.
Okay.
It can be like a weird thing where it has two. It's like binomial and it has two peaks. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All you have to say is you have some probability distribution, and every single output basically like that's like a value of whatever like parameter you have.
So like in this sense, like the values would be constant. Wait, yeah, it would be constants, right?
Yeah, these are like all of these things are constants, and it's saying that if for every part of the universe, it's going to be like sections of the universe have random constants or like whatever they are. They could vary. If they could vary, as more universe is created, it's going to approximate the probability distribution. It's not going to create it.
I have a question. Wait, so if it does take up infinity, like I guess the cardinality, then, like, do you think that while approximating, or one, do you think at any point in the approximation that it takes up a percentage of infinity, and what point would that be?
That there's no such thing as a percentage of infinity. There's like density relations with infinite sets, but that
Like-
they have the exact same size, or like uncountables, like the cardinality of the reals has the
Yeah.
exact same as that. The naturals
I
have
know.
the same.
That's why I'm kind of confused. Like if you said that you took it to be like getting close, you took it to be a finite, right?
I'm taking it in the calculus sense because there's set theoretic and then there's the
Yeah.
limiting process, and they are very distinct things with similar concepts, though.
Dang. Wait. So then, I usually think of it in a set. So so do you take that the cardinality? Wait. So you're saying that when we're talking about like approximating towards infinity, would you take that to be like the cardinality growing, or would you think it's
No,
like a
it's
set?
not. It's not a cardinality growing because it's still just a finite number that just has whatever. Like
Okay,
it's not
so
in the
if
set
it is
theoretic
finite-
notion. Like, do you understand
If
limiting
it-
processes?
I wish I knew what you're talking about, but I don't. That's why I'm trying to like ask like questions on it.
I mean,
Well, we
So-
knew that.
did you ever take pre-calculus
Not yet. Not yet.
with the
Not yet. How old
concepts
are you?
here might?
Hey, bro. Hey.
Not yet. You take pre-calculus in your sophomore year of high school, your junior year of
I
high
didn't.
school.
I didn't.
I mean that is two grades ahead. So and I'm just not gonna ask the age. Plausible
Yeah,
deniability.
but yeah. All right, but so you said that it's finite, but it doesn't have a set
Tending
cardinality?
towards infinity. Yes. I mean, I'm not sure if I can teach like a pretty core concept of pre-calculus. I might not be able to do that, but
Hey.
maybe in the simplest way I can think of.
Okay.
Imagine a line right now, and
Yep.
imagine this line is just imagine the asymptote I showed you. Now, as you get closer to the asymptote, it's approaching that, but it never actually like touches that line or crosses it. Like
Yeah.
that's like just that's
Oh,
part of
well,
that's the
no,
definition of
I
an
do
asymptote.
understand.
And since we have this asymptote, as
I
we
don't
get
think that it's coherent when you say that you can like. I guess that's the point. I do fully understand the acetone. I don't feel like you can map that onto infinity because when you have those values, like weird things happen. Like you have to try to.
you're
figure
not
out-
mapping it onto infinity. You're approximating the probability.
Yeah, like I
distribution.
don't think you could like I don't think you can really approximate infinity then because in any sense when you try to approximate infinity, you try to say that it's as close as but not reaching to infinity. But because infinity is that by which can always be added finitely, like you can't keep it remaining finite yet be ever close to infinity because you
This has
can't
nothing
even
to do with God.
because it's incoherent to say
This has
that
absolutely nothing to do
because it's
with God.
incoherent to say that you can percentage infinity. So when you try to
You're
say that
not
it's as
percentaging
close,
infinity.
but so you're not. So it's not. Yeah, if it's not percentage infinity, then when you look at dude. Wait. So
When
what?
This has
you
nothing to do with God.
You have
Hey,
a curve. Do you think? Wait, okay, CJ. Do you think random
Yeah.
processes happen in like? Think of any random process. Think of rolling a dice.
Yeah.
Okay. Now imagine though this. So the dice has 6 sides. When you
Yeah.
roll it one time, you didn't. You don't. You haven't shown the probability distribution, obviously, because you only have one single thing. So now you have just some value. And remember, the probability distribution is equal across the 6 possible outputs. And then
Yeah.
as you keep rolling it, you can get like weird sequences where you get multiple 6s in a row. So they can be like, wait, maybe the probability distribution is that it's actually skewed towards 6s. But we're obviously assuming that this is a fair dice. That's just how probability works. But as you keep rolling the dice, it's going to approximate the true probability of just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 all being equal. This is just the law of large numbers.
I understand that. Yes.
And it's saying with the same thing as this, like with the law of large numbers, you're going to see the true probability of all the possible outputs in said universe, like whatever the constants are, as you generate more and more universe if they're variant. And as this keeps being generated, you're going to approximate the probability distribution. But if there's not an actually infinite universe, you're only going to approximate it and you'll never have the probability distribution. That's what it's saying.
Yeah. I understand that part, but now can you like I don't see how that maps on to what I asked. Like I'm sorry if maybe I am confused in asking that, or maybe I am confused right now, but I don't see how that maps on to my question. Like I do understand that concept. Like you're saying, okay, like let's say like again, given fair dice, 6 odd like outcomes, we could obviously like get if we rolled it an infinite amount of times, like let's say what was 1,000,000 times landed on 6s, and that's just fine. That's just how probability works. But once we have that infinite time, then we require that infinite.
It doesn't
amount
have
of
to actually be infinite, though. It has to only tend towards infinity. That's the point. Because you know, since infinity is not a finite number, it's in basic calculus. It's just a concept because we're not rigorously defining it with like Cantor's theorem yet. It's as it grows larger. That's where the arbitrary large comes in. It will start approximating the probability distribution more and more accurately to the point you can almost not distinguish it from just if you have the true probability distribution. This is like how any limiting process and like approximations work.
I feel like I don't think that. Yeah, okay. I guess I could have contingencies without that. I would say that if we don't have a set point by which we can say that it's approximated, but it's more so like generally approximated. Like I don't think that like when applied to infinity it would make any sense.
Dude,
like if like again like if you were to say like I guess before I ask about that, could you then map on or use that concept to explain why we can have it so then what do you call it that dude,
the naturalistic hypothesis with variant constants.
Okay,
in the naturalistic hypothesis with variant constants, every possible configuration of constants is going to have some probability distribution or a probability attached to it. Maybe
not that. Wait, Marlon, I remember the question. I was about to say then how can we have not an infinite amount of constants, but a like approaching infinite concepts. I mean concepts. Bro, what the hell? Yeah, constants. I don't know why I can't say
This has nothing to do with God.
Yeah, you keep saying that.
As the universe, in this model,
yes,
the universe is larger and larger. And all of the yes, Sticks, that is what we were talking about. I'm trying to help.
Wait, so like you're trying to say that as it grows, that's approximating
whatever the true probability distribution of colors are correct.
Yeah, I can see that, but I don't see how that would affect my inference. That's kind of like
because it's not going to become unlikely under this naturalistic hypothesis for the Goldilocks zone to exist.
yeah, likelihood. Would you sign that likelihood requires what do you call it? Like what's that word I was using? So I was supposed to say it's like the size of sets, the elements of the sets.
Cardinality?
Yeah. Do you think that we can draw a probability without cardinality?
Yes, you can definitely draw a probability without cardinality. In fact, like you don't need to know any set theory to take stats.
Wait, no, no. I meant like of the set. Like when we're talking about stats.
You mean the
still
probability
count the
distribution,
elements.
it can be defined as a set. It's not necessarily defined, but suppose it is a set.
Yeah.
As you're like, given that it's this infinite set with an infinite amount of elements, it's okay, Sticks, you're good. As we have an infinite set with a its cardinality is going to be the real numbers, because that's if it's a continuous probability distribution, that's how it works. As we keep generating more and more outputs from this, it's going to start approximating it. Now, will it get to every value unless you have you generated it the cardinality of the real number amount of times? No, but
No,
that's
I don't
not-
think. Yeah, I don't think after any amount of
it will
approximation.
never. You're right. It will never actually give you the probability distribution, but it will keep approximating it because since the regions have their likelihoods, the more you
Yeah.
generate it, the more it
Okay.
approximates. the
Yeah. Okay.
probability distribution.
I do. All right. I'm sorry it took a while, but I do finally think I can say I understand what you're saying and what you're talking about now. But okay. So then my inference, which is establishing that the probability that we live in a non-life favoring universe is infinitely less likely. Then even if we have this approximation, I don't see how you can. Yeah, I guess the best thing to say is to ask you the question. Okay, so how does this approximation of these constants, even if it's approximating towards infinity in this universe, thus invalidate my inference?
Because it's not going to be unlikely under the naturalistic
This
model.
has nothing.
Why?
Because since it's
Alright,
an
can we move on
arbitrary
from this
line.
guy? This has nothing to do with God. Like, absolutely nothing. Come on, question. Plain.
I mean, it does.
Like,
he-
You're giving that's a live question. Hey, if this guy wants me down, and if you agree, you can do that. But you're the first person to ever give me a genuine good objection so far. I'm really interested. I want to hear it.
do you just not interact with anyone who knows stuff about probability?
No, it's just I just
Math?
saw the argument
Math?
a week ago, and I've just been asking people.
Okay, well,
It would make
yeah.
sense if
Under
you-
But yeah, under the naturalistic model, given we have an arbitrarily large amount of universe to approximate the probability distribution, it's going to be extremely likely converging upon 100% because that's what the arbitrarily large thing is, but it doesn't actually get to
Yeah.
100%. So maybe there is a really, really small, slightly favors theism to the point of really just tiny, but it still is highly expected in a naturalistic model, way, 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 way above 50%. It's approaching 100% because it's getting arbitrarily large.
Okay, wait.
Like the
Okay,
remaining
so yeah, you're saying in this universe, or we can call it a model here because we're talking about probability. If it's approximated to infinity, basically theism would only have the slightest.
It's not approximating it. It's not approximating infinity. It's tending towards infinity.
Yeah,
and
my
it's
bad.
approximating
Yeah.
the probability distribution.
Yeah, tending towards infinity. Yeah. So then when it's tending towards infinity, then the theism likelihood, or theism would only be favored very, very, very minusculely, infinitely small.
Yeah,
Like,
really, really tiny.
And naturalism would still then, I guess,
expect it.
define
Yes.
that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
this
then
doesn't
I
even
did-
I want to clarify. This is
Yeah.
a very conservative naturalistic model. It's not even stalking horsing it. It's literally just saying, what if the universe is infinite and or tending towards an infinitely large amount?
Yeah.
And then it's saying
Okay.
because it's
Yeah.
tending towards an infinitely large amount of universe, it's going to be expected in our
No,
naturalism.
I do. All right. Yeah, I do know how to answer this time. Hey, thanks for explaining it though. But I would say something like, if under this universe, where it's expanding and we have these infinite, each time we add a new concept as it's tending towards infinity, then we have these almost infinite, I guess, amount of constants there by which I'll just see it. I think that even if we have that, can construct that possible world, and even if we may live in that possible world, the fact that it requires these structural added commitments, like let's say if we just have these two constants, right? Let's say the universe only had these two constants. Then if we were to just simply suppose that, or if we were to just simply look at a universe and say, okay, how many constants would it have? More likely than not, it's going to be less in that sense. That's why I think, at least that's the intuition why I think that parsimony would still work in these possible world scenarios. And if that's the case, and even if we could construct a universe by which the evidence, I guess, could still favor naturalism, and like I guess even if counting these constants would only very, very slightly favor theism, index to us being in that possible world, it's way unlikely.
There is
I'm
no
not
evidence that
not sure.
that increases the likelihood of theism other than the claims of theism, which cannot be substantiated. God is not real. This wasn't a conversation about God. You won't defend your position. Jesus didn't walk on water. Mary wasn't a virgin.
Okay. Anyways,
Become
were
a
you gonna say
Muslim.
something?
Go become a Muslim. At least you'll have a better claim to the throne.
Hey, bro. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk to you. Question. What were you about to say?
Ainsley, just like I get it. I know it's not your cup of tea, but I'm just trying to help him out. Like I'm
I
trying
mean,
to.
we can't even like.
I'm
but
trying to
he's,
guide
like,
people
He's
to
not
the
even honing down on a single thing, right? Like,
That's fine. I'm good enough in the topic. I understand what he's saying, and I'm trying to help. But I just want to finish the conversation. But I'm not sure what you're trying. Are you saying because of the amount of possible structural commitments, it's going to be less ontically parsimonious, or like, are you talking
Yeah.
about ontic parsimony or a different type? Because it's not committing different types of existence. Like it's not like saying there's
Maybe
an
not
immaterial
like
thing.
in the Aristotelian sense. Like I guess just counting the
Just the
modal
amount of things that would exist.
Yeah, like the modal commit. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't really think the amount of things existing is. Wait, I want to answer. Who wins in a war? Sock, DVA.